This podcast is part of the C-Suite Radio Network, turning the volume up on business.
Welcome to the Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer. Join us as Deb talks with her guests, experts in their fields, as they share real-life stories and techniques to power up your business.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to have so much fun because we're going to be talking about things that so many small business owners and entrepreneurs struggle with, and that's basic marketing. How do you name things? How do you get your message out there? All of these various things. And what other options might you be considering, like online training? And so please join me in welcoming my guest today. Welcome to Marisa Murgatroyd. Welcome, Marisa.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you.
Great. Well, let me tell people just a little bit about you. So as I said, today's guest is Marisa Murgatroyd, the founder of Live Your Message and creator of the Experience Product Masterclass, where she helps people who teach online programs get better results for their students faster. Marisa launched her career as an artist who built a mid-seven-figure online business despite being told she had no marketable skills. Since then, she's shown over 5,000 students how to succeed online, and she's here today to share a few of her secrets with us. So again, Marisa, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to have a lot of fun from what I can tell.
We are. So let's go back just a little bit. How is it that you decided that this is your passion in life?
Oh, goodness. Well, that was a long trajectory and not necessarily a single moment. But I do remember the moment that I started down the path.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it was back in, maybe 2009, 2010. And I was working as a documentary film director. So I actually, had the honor of making films and getting paid to make films, which in and of itself is a huge accomplishment.
Right.
And I was hired by a production company and I loved the work, but I didn't always love the job. And I definitely didn't love the boss.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one afternoon I was there working. I've been working all day to get a video ready to print to DVD. And by print to DVD, you're printing thousands of copies. So it has to be exactly just right.
Mm-hmm.
And my boss walks in the afternoon and she's kind of late and says, Marisa, can I borrow your power cord? I left mine at home. I said, well, no, I didn't have my computer plugged in, so I don't have a lot of power left and you can't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, well, Marisa, that computer you're working on, I own that computer.
Right.
That power cord,
so I own that power cord
too. And so give me the power. She actually said that. And what she didn't say, which I kind of heard, was, Marisa, I own you.
Right.
And we went
you
back
don't count.
Yes, exactly. And I went back and forth with her a few times. And the thing is I was the producer and director on the film. We had all these production assistants. She could have asked somebody else for the power cord. In that moment, she needed mine. And I ultimately gave her the power cord. And I felt in that moment that I actually handed over my power. And I did what so many people do in this city of like 15 million people, which is I was going every day to a job that wasn't the full expression of who I was, where I wasn't appreciated, where I wasn't fully giving my gifts to the world. And in that moment, I kind of vowed to take a different path, but I had no idea as a filmmaker what people would actually pay me for. I mean, I was used to making $1,000 a week. And, if I didn't work, I didn't get paid. I wasn't even an employee. So I was maxing out at like 50 grand a year. And if that, so I
in
didn't
California,
really know.
that's rough.
Yeah, totally. So I didn't know what people would pay me for.
So you thought, let's start my own business, or did you take several other steps along the way?
Well, I started to think that, filmmaking, it's kind of slow. It takes a very long time to get a film done and out into people's hands. And even then, the average independent film, only 1,000 people see it after 3 years.
Wow.
And so I'm kind of an impatient person. And I just started to think about, well, where could I work that maybe it's going to be more fulfilling? And I thought, well, maybe the intersection of the internet and entrepreneurship. But I thought, what would people even pay me for? And I started to think, well, I know how to make things look good and sound good, and I can tell a damn good story, but who's going to pay me for that?
Right.
Because at the time, it didn't seem all that valuable as a filmmaker. And what I didn't realize is that those three skills of making things look good and sound good and telling good stories are the foundation of all business and marketing.
Right. Right.
So sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. And I
I
have the
know.
most valuable skill set on the planet for the most part.
Right. Yeah. And we fall into being the small business owner, being the entrepreneur, exactly through, many times the process that you talked about. We worked for a bigger entity and for whatever reason thought not cutting it. And I always love talking to small business owners and finding out why they decided, because, there's obviously a stability in working for someone else. And then you've got those little things called benefits, and in many cases, somebody else is making those decisions for you regarding things like your branding, your messaging, all of those things. And for some people, that's fabulous. They love that career path, obviously. But for those of us who are a little more independent, maybe, we want to have control over that. And so we want to take charge and do it ourselves.
Absolutely.
And it was interesting as I was looking through your website, and then as we were chatting before the program, one of the things I think that happens though with small business owners and with entrepreneurs is we've got this great idea, this great plan, and then we have absolutely no idea how to implement it. First of all, we don't want to ask for help because we're supposed to be the smart people. And so we don't want to say we don't know what to do. We don't know how to do this. And so many times what happens is we haven't marketed the product right or the service. We haven't picked a good name for it. We haven't had, in many cases, we haven't picked a good name for our company. And so that is one of the things that you help people with. So tell us just a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different pieces that you just said there.
I know, there's like 2 hours with a program right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I my core area of expertise right now, the thing that I'm focused on the most is helping people really create online products, programs, or services so they can ultimately start to leverage their time and make a lot more money, but to create programs that are super sticky, that sell more, and to get more people to complete those programs and go all the way to the very end.
Right.
And the reason that matters is that what most people don't know is that there's a dirty little secret in the online training industry. Even though it's this $200 billion a year industry right now, and Forbes magazine expects it to be $325 billion by the year 2025, what most people don't know is that only 3% of people who sign up for online training programs complete those programs and get results. And that's just
me.
Catastrophic. And I remember when I was discovering this for myself, and I had created, my first program didn't sell anything at all. And then my second program, I did what most people, entrepreneurs do, like, well, that didn't work. Let me try again. And the next program sold a little bit more, but I noticed people weren't finishing. I noticed they were getting stuck. I noticed they were getting frustrated. I noticed they were giving up on the program itself. And I remember going to a colleague and saying, are you seeing this? Is the same thing happening to you? And what she said next just kind of changed my life forever. She looked at me and she said, well, Marisa, maybe some people just aren't meant to succeed. And that felt like a punch in the gut, because I believe that every single person, is meant to succeed, given the right tools, resources, training, support, mentorship, guidance, you name it. And so that kind of set me off on an obsession to figure out, how can I get way more people across the finish line to what I call mission accomplished, to actually complete programs and get results? Because this is how people learn today. And if it's not effective, if it's not working, not only is your business going to start to decline because your reputation isn't going to be as good as it could be, but it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fulfilling. You're going to lose faith and you're going to lose confidence along the way. Like, most people say that the most important moment in the relationship with your customer is the moment they buy. And that's an important moment. But I would argue that the most important moment is the moment immediately after they buy, when you start to deliver on the promises that you made and help them start to gain the momentum they need to keep going forward through your program, even the hard bits, and get the results and get the transformation and change their lives for the better.
And online programs are something that so many people can and should be doing. Now, obviously, if you have a physical product, maybe not. I'm not going to say totally not, because you might still have information that you can be imparting. Maybe it's how to use that product, some things like that. But, it's interesting because as you said, so many people don't even finish. And I'll be honest, I am one of those people. Even if I've paid quite a bit of money, and there's a variety of reasons, I'm sure, why I don't finish. But yeah, very rarely will I do the whole thing. There was one last week that I was participating in, and it was a 4-day thing on podcasting. Looked like great content. Well, of course, I missed the first 2, and because they were live, and now they did say they're recorded, and so that's great. And then, I was halfway late through another one, and then I wasn't paying attention, all these various things. And so you said the key word in there, and that's sticky. I didn't get stuck to the content, and more importantly, I didn't want to go back to it. Even though I knew it was great, it was informative, it was something that I probably really needed to be paying attention to, but it just didn't capture me. So,
and you are not alone. And
I know, now I do know that, I do have the attention span of a gnat, and I get sidetracked very easily, but that is the big thing. And so when we're doing our own creation, it's, as you said, people aren't paying attention. We know they're not finishing. And so then we get very discouraged, and we think, why should we even bother? Well, of course, the problem was we didn't set it up right to start with. So, talk to us about this. How do we make content that is sticky, that people are thinking, I can't wait for the next class, the next episode, the next whatever it is?
Absolutely. So I'd love to share that. And that is my core area of expertise and my passion. And let me just share first a moment where I realized the potential of this. And then I'll go and share some very specific strategies with you. But the truth is that people do not learn from information alone. I mean, that's like such an old school construct from like the 19th century, if not the 18th century and beyond. And we are not just you're not the only person with an attention span of a gnat. Basically, the entire world at this point in time, as we're plugged into all these devices, has an attention span of a gnat. And if information alone worked to change the world, the truth is that we'd all be living in Googletopia.
Right.
Because we have all of the world's information, all of human history, all of human knowledge at our fingertips 24/7, but that has not made people healthier and happier.
Right.
We do not
It's
have more of what
confused
we
us.
want. Yeah. For sure. So what people want, and the way that they really learn, is through experiences. If you think about yourself as a child growing up, you didn't learn from reading a book. You learned from falling flat on your face and then picking yourself out back again and like trying it again. And so people learn from experiences. And I remember when I started to get this obsession about how can I get radically more people to complete my programs, which gets radically more people to ultimately refer my programs, buy from me again and again. And then my reputation increases and just sales are easier and marketing becomes easier. And I saw something. I started to do some experiments, but then in the summer of 2016, I saw something that changed my life forever. And it was basically a video, like a silly video of grown adults double parking their cars in Central Park, jumping out and trying to catch these little virtual Pokemon on their cell phones.
Right.
They were stampeding through Central Park by the thousands. And it was just insane. And no one was looking at each other. They were all looking at the phone. And in that moment, I had a vision. I said, what if I could get people that excited about achieving their greatest goals in life and overcoming their biggest challenges that they were literally double parking their cars and running through the streets to do it? Is it even possible? And from that moment, I set about to study everything from the best teachers I've ever had, adult learning theory, the psychology of motivation, gamification, and apps, and how they were getting people to spend thousands of hours on their platforms. And I kind of put it all together into a set of 10 core experiences that I call the experience formula. And when you stack these 10 core experiences together, they create what I call experience escalation, which is the feeling of unstoppable momentum from accepting the mission or promise of your program all the way through to crossing the finish line to what I call mission accomplished. And what I've seen, and I've been doing this for years now and worked with some of the top names in our industry, as well as emerging entrepreneurs across all industries, is that consistently using these 10 principles to create experience escalation gets anywhere from 10 to 30 times the industry standard number of students or customers to actually finish and get results. 10 to 30 times, which is just extraordinary. So the other approach, though, I call if you actually accidentally put the opposite 10 experiences into your program, you create what I call the downward death spiral.
Right.
And this is where a series of very small negative experiences that were not intended by the product creator stacked together to create overwhelm, frustration, procrastination, have people get stuck and walk away ultimately. So let me tell you about some of what these 10 core experiences are.
Yeah, because that is important to know what not to do.
Yes. Yeah. Plus the opposite. So the very first experience that I like to talk about is what I call mission. So mission is not the same thing as a personal mission. This is the mission of your product, what your customers are actually saying yes to, what your product is going to allow them to do, be, feel, have, overcome, or achieve. And you can create a mission by using a template that I call the Mission Possible template. And you may recognize it. It's your mission, should you choose to accept it, is blank. So for example, in our signature program, the Experience Product Masterclass, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to design, market and make $2,000 or a whole lot more from an experience product in 10 weeks or less. Now, we've had some people make over $300,000 in 10 weeks, but our goal was that people at least make back their investment in the program or we'll pay them the difference. So that's our guarantee. If they don't do that and they do the work, we'll pay them the difference. So that's our goal for every single person in the program. And it's motivating because it's so clear, it's almost binary. In other words, you know that you've either done it or you haven't. There's no room for ambiguity. You know exactly what achieving that mission looks like, how long it's going to take, what the indicator of success actually is. And that's super motivating for your customers. It also allows you to simplify product creation. Anything that doesn't get someone from mission to mission accomplished does not belong in your program. Right. It's just a distraction and it's going to create overwhelm and lots of squirrels for people and it's not going to work. And so it's actually can be a lot easier to create a program using the experience formula because instead of thinking about everything you can give, it's simply how do you get someone from point A to point B. And the opposite, principle, which creates the downward death spiral is what I call trying to serve too many masters. Right. And it's interesting because I was just doing a 2-day retreat at my house this past weekend on Saturday and Sunday. And one of my students was doing a real estate program. And she was teaching people in a 3-month period the inner game of real estate, the higher game, and the outer game. And so it was like a month on the inner game, a month on the outer game, and a month on the higher game. And the outer game is the tactics and the strategies. The inner game is mindset, and the higher game is actually leverage. And I was like, this is a huge program, Norma. I don't know how anyone can get there in 3 months alone. Like if you're taking someone from just struggling as a real estate agent all the way to building leveraged, revenue streams, that's just too much. How about if you focus primarily on just what I call, her program is called Big Income Breakthrough. So I said, why don't you focus on just, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to remove is to shatter the revenue ceiling in your business and create 3 big income breakthroughs through, building rapport, qualification, and lead generation, while learning the inner game, strategies you need to build confidence and creating a vision for what your higher game could look like. Right? And simply by creating that simplification, it was way more easy to understand the promise of the program. It's going to be much more easy for people to succeed and not get overwhelmed. And it cues up her next program, which could be a year-long, 12-month journey on the higher game of real estate, right? And now that gives her like an extra $20,000 revenue stream beyond this initial $2,000 product. And she's going to try to give it all for $2,000. And it's not about trying to make more money from people or extract more money, but it's about to kind of control the fire hose a little bit so they can actually have a chance of succeeding, and then giving, each program the time that it needs for someone to actually complete it before going to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
And I think that probably is one of the hardest things for someone to decide is, we have this wealth of knowledge, that we're wanting to get out there, and so taking it in bite-sized chunks, that's the hard thing to do. And I'm sure that one of the hardest things is figuring out what the first thing should be, because we have all of this information that we want to share with people, but trying to figure out what the heck is the first thing to do has got to be, one of the most daunting tasks.
Yeah, and the biggest mistake, the rookie mistake that everyone makes with the first thing is to try to put all their knowledge and
Right.
all their expertise into the first thing. And the truth is that what should be the first thing is counterintuitive. A lot of people think the first thing should be a book or just something cheap like a $197 product because it makes it more affordable and accessible. But the truth is that if you look at just standard internet marketing conversion rates, it takes a lot of sales to make, say, $10,000
Right.
with the $197 product. I mean, you're talking about trying to sell, 50 of these products, if not more. And then your reach has to be huge,
Right.
to sell 50 of a $197 product. So a lot of times I recommend people don't start with the first step on the customer journey, but somewhere in the middle or the end, and start with a premium offer that they only need to make. Like if you're selling a $2,000 product, you only need to make 5 sales to
Right.
make 10,000. If you're selling a $5,000 product, we're talking about 2. If you need to make 2 sales, maybe you talk to 6 to 10 people and that's it. And anybody can start with their existing network to get those 6 to 10 people and make 10 grand. But not everyone can have a $197 product, sell 50 of them and make 10,000. Is that making sense?
It does. And I think that's one of the trickiest things for small business owners to understand is, of course, the whole pricing structure. But, we do, and especially when we're just starting out or maybe even struggling, it's like we have to lower the price and sell as many as we possibly can. It doesn't matter what it is. It's like, okay, we're just going to have to really flood the market, do whatever we can, as opposed to focusing on, okay, I need to work with 5 people or 10 or, a much more manageable number. So therefore I am going to charge more, but it will be worth it. And maybe it's, the whole Nordstrom's versus Walmart type of thing. Walmart has great purpose in the world, but, I'd rather be the Nordstrom's and charge more.
Right. Yep. Well, it's not just about that. It's just about your reach.
Right.
So, when you're starting out, you don't have a mailing list and you don't have this giant network and you don't have all the top, joint venture partners in the world to promote you. So you don't have the reach to sell, hundreds of something, but you do have the reach to sell a handful of something, no matter who you are. Yeah. So it's not just about, being Walmart versus being Nordstrom. It's just the economics of scale and reach.
Right. And of course, the hard thing is for many people, they're thinking, but I'm just starting out. How could I charge that much? And that really is one of the biggest challenges is so many people think, and so not only do they think, how can I charge that much? It's maybe I should give it away for free. And of course, what happens is they've immediately devalued their own knowledge. Simply because they were trying to reach so many people.
Yeah, well, I think that the mistake that people make is I'm brand new. How can I charge that much? Is like you're making your product about you and your experience and your fears and your doubts and everything else. But when you actually focus on a product mission, it's not about you. It's what you can help someone do, be, feel, have, overcome, or achieve. So if you can help someone do something that's valuable to them, they're going to be willing to pay for it. So it's not about you at all. And the problem that most beginner product creators have is they make it about themselves. And once you make it about yourselves, all your kind of stress and anxiety and worry and self-doubt comes in. Just be like, can I get this person a result? Boom. If you can, you are in business. And if you don't know that you can, then you can do some things where you can offer beta pricing. For example, where you give someone, say, half off in exchange for, knowing that they're one of the first clients. You can actually hold that money in a separate bank account and then give them the money back if you can't get the result, if you just want to make sure you can feel better and you're in integrity with what it is that you're doing.
Right.
Or you can just do one person for free to test it out, or no more than 3, okay? To test it out and then very quickly start to sell it just so you can get your confidence up. But a lot of people just end up struggling in that self-doubt for so long that they're like, oh, I need more experience. I need more experience versus just like, it's not about me. You have a lifetime of experience, right?
Right.
It's about getting someone else a result.
Right. And what is that result worth? And because if it's something that, maybe you're working with people to show them how to improve their LinkedIn skills to get a better job. Well, if that job is $100,000 job, if you charge $100 for the class, they're like, nah, and because there is that kind of the mixed message of this is so cheap, but you're aiming for something high. Now, and I think that is the one thing where people do really get confused is they think, well, I am going to price it so that anybody can afford it. Well,
beyond that,
it's not anybody.
Well, beyond that, you don't want to price it so anybody affords it, because then your track record is going to be worse. Because if someone's spending $200 to have this massive life transformation, their level of commitment isn't high enough necessarily to do the work, right? So I have programs that range in price from like $17 to, actually to over $50,000, right? And if I'm doing a really intensive work with someone and they're spending $17, they're not going to follow through. No. They don't value what they just signed up for. But if someone's investing $50,000, you better believe that they're going to show up for that.
Right. And it is, it's again, it's about creating that sticky, giving them that content that they really are thinking, oh my gosh, I have to do this. And
beyond the content, it's the way that you structure the whole thing.
Right. Yeah. Because you could have the best content in the world, but if it's not presented in a good way, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really what's important. So let me give you a couple more of these principles. This leads us very well to actually core experience number 9, which is unstoppable momentum. And this relates to how you structure your program to ramp people up essentially from small, simple actions that lead to small, simple wins to bigger, more challenging, more complex actions that lead to bigger, more exciting wins.
Right.
And so what most people do when they create a program is they either drop someone into the deep end of the pool where it's challenging stuff, or they give people the most boring stuff. So for example, I had a student who was building a program to basically help, musicians get their music on TV shows. And the very first module was about getting all of the kind of paperwork done to be listed for these studios. Now talk about boring ads. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you're working with musicians. These are creatives, and you just let them to work on all this paperwork. This is how they give up right away. So instead of that, I recommended, why don't you start someone with, say, the very first training would be create your dream 20 list of the top 20 shows that if you got one of your tracks on any one of these shows, this program would be a huge success. And then go one step further and make it impossible for them to not be able to complete this assignment by giving them a list of, say, all the possible TV shows they could submit to sorted by genre. So, if you're doing death metal music, you would be on these shows, or if you're doing country music, you would be on these shows. And what that does is it's creating what I call a future self vision by completing it. And that's actually core experience number 3, where simply by creating a particular training, they're creating they're finishing a training, they're creating a new vision for themselves. So that's very much more motivating. So what most people don't know is something called the challenge growth ratio. So people are most excited to move forward. They're most engaged, and they're most in a flow when the level of challenge is 4% higher than the current level of skill. So they're being stretched just a bit, but not too much. And the thing is that when you continually put someone just slightly above their current skill level, they can make rapid progress.
Right.
But you don't want to jump them right into, say, something that's 100% more difficult, like twice as difficult.
Because they're going to be so frustrated they last 5 minutes.
Yeah. And the other thing you don't want to do is have a whole module or whatever it is. It's just about congratulations for signing up. You just made a great decision. And here's what we're going to do together for like an entire module. And it used to be you had the introductory module in programs. Just a bunch of yes, right? And you're training people to listen and not take any action.
Right. Right. And there's certainly other ways that you can be doing that. You send an email that does the introductory, you'll be learning this and this and this. You mentioned like the musicians who need to fill out all the paperwork. Okay, offer something totally different. Maybe it's a different service that you can provide to do the paperwork for them. All these different ways to be able to help them out. Yep. Sorry, as you take a drink.
Yeah. Well, sure thing. If you wanted to change your business model to include services.
Right.
But even if you don't want to offer that service offering,
Mhm.
there's still a lot of ways you could ramp them
Right.
into completing that
Mhm.
important piece of
Yeah.
the puzzle.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, you refer them to somebody else, maybe or maybe it's a book or whatever, so that you're not focusing on that part, because again, you don't want to draw away from what you're wanting to do by getting them caught in the weeds.
Well, the main point is that you can get people to do challenging things.
Mhm.
You can get people to do boring things, but you've got to ramp them up by building
Right.
this unstoppable
Mhm.
momentum, by getting them started with
Mhm.
something that anybody can do, that they're going to
Right.
want to do, that's
Mhm.
going to be exciting for them
Mhm.
to do, and that's going to get them to the next step. So
Mhm.
they want to take the next action.
Right.
You're constantly teeing them up for the
Mhm.
next step and the next step
Mhm.
and the next step
Right.
and the next
Right.
step.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're really excited and the next step is the paperwork, okay, well, it's not that big a deal. But
Right.
if it was, okay, you got to start with paperwork. You know?
Yeah. Absolutely. So that's how you start to build
Mhm.
unstoppable momentum
Mhm.
is you have to really think about what happens in moment one of day one. What
Mhm.
happens immediately after someone signs up?
Right.
What is that experience for them
Mhm.
like? So for example, in our Experience Product Masterclass, when you join, I don't send you to your email to kind of fish out, a message and then,
Mhm.
get the login ID for a membership
Right.
site. Because what
Mhm.
happens is as soon as I send you to an inbox, you're like off to the races and you've
Cool.
forgotten all about the thing that
Mhm.
you just signed up for
Mhm.
because your inbox is just so distracting. It's this
Right.
massive rabbit hole.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
Because then
right
it's, oh,
there,
I got to check that other email and I got to do this and got to do that. And did I sign up for a class?
totally. So
Mhm.
right there on the confirmation page
Mhm.
after they sign up, I give them their first training. And the first training is what I
Ah,
call the Show Me the Money video. So
cool.
I have them create their minimum target and stretch goals for how much money they're going to make
Mhm.
during the 10 weeks of the program. The minimum goal is always 2,000, what they
Mhm.
invested. And then the target and stretch depends on how much experience they
Mhm.
have and whether they've done a program before or
Right.
not. And based on that, it's fail proof. Their exact formulas for calculating this, they can't go wrong.
Mhm.
And now they're already more motivated because they can see their pathway to the money.
Mhm. Right. And one of the things that we didn't point out, and I should have, is, one of the reasons why we want to do online is that's 24/7. And people can be doing it around the world. You're not giving those classes or doing those presentations. People are doing them at their own time. And I love this. This is a quote from your website. Before you can make money while you sleep, you have to be able to make money while you're awake. And I love that concept because, yeah, that is, of course, ultimately why we want to be doing online training. Is it's 24/7. I can go on vacation, I can sleep, I can do whatever, but I have to have had that core down good before I can make that next leap.
Yeah, absolutely. So I teach people how to create the right product in their business at the right time, which is the product they have the most potential to actually start earning money from now. And one
Mhm.
of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is someone who's brand new to business, who doesn't know what their niche is, who hasn't validated their idea, all of a sudden trying to create something like a membership site that
Right.
is available
Mhm.
24/7 while you sleep. And if you try to go straight to that kind of content, first of all, you don't have the reach to
Mhm.
sell a lot of your membership
Right.
site.
Mhm.
Second of all, you're creating stuff before you've had the opportunity to engage and interact
Mhm.
with your audience and to see if it's on the right track and it's what
Mhm.
they actually want. So I oftentimes recommend that people start by doing some kind of one-on-one
Mhm.
program or
Mhm.
service or, coaching or consulting
Mhm.
or something like that. And you can still apply the entire experience formula we've been talking about
Mhm.
to one-on-one offers. So
Right.
many people come through our program. Many of them create courses and membership sites, but some people really fine tune and enhance
Mhm.
their one-on-one work and then
Mhm.
end up making great money because
Right.
you can often charge a premium for
Mhm.
one-on-one work. But if
Right.
you've never sold to a single person,
Mhm.
what makes you think you're going to be able to sell hundreds or thousands
Right.
to all of these
Mhm.
people?
Mhm.
You need to first learn the basic skills of sales and marketing and
Mhm.
value delivery. You've got
Mhm.
to get that muscle memory to be able to create these big leverage products. And
Mhm.
I have 3 7-figure product lines, so I
Mhm.
know what it takes. But I started out doing web design and
Mhm.
branding for
Right.
3,000 to 500, $3 to $5,000 a package.
Mhm.
And I still do that, but now
Mhm.
I sell those packages for
Right.
$50,000. But
Right.
that's how I got my start and how I was able to ramp up to,
Mhm.
these other like blockbuster hit product
Mhm.
lines. And I think a lot of people try to skip steps or they look at
Mhm.
someone like me and they try to do what I'm doing
Right.
now
Well, if you
versus
can do that, I can do that. Mhm.
Or versus starting where I started. So I teach people how to start where I started.
Right.
If you're at the starting line. And if they're in the midline, I teach people to kind of what's the next step. And if they're already very successful, I teach people how to optimize and get better results with their existing products.
Right. You know, and like you said, it's this timeline, you know, where we all started somewhere, you know, but even if we're pretty far along the process and successful at it, you know, I want to add that in there because so many of us have been doing this a really long time, but might not be successful at it, you know, so in many cases, you're almost starting over when you do this, but, you know, wherever you are in the process, you can improve on it, you know, and you can make it better.
Absolutely. And I think you have to because the market is changing so quickly that you can't rest on your laurels anymore.
Right. Right. Yeah. You know, because the second you do, somebody else comes along and passes you.
Yes. They'll
Right.
eat your lunch.
I know. Or they eat you for lunch. That's even worse. You know? So now one of the things that you talk about is that, you know, when we've got an online course, one of the things that you use is games, you know, how to gamify something. And so why is that important? And then how do we go about doing
first
that?
of all, I don't necessarily use games. So gamification and
Right,
games are two separate things.
Right. So we're not
Gamification is simply applying game mechanics and game theory to non-game activities.
Okay.
Right? So for example, you know, one of the principles of experience products is core principle number 4, constant wins. And this is where people feel like they're winning every single time they engage with me. So I never do just trainings for the sake of information transfer. Like, people can get information transfer on Google or on YouTube. They don't need to buy a program for information transfer. But every single time someone interacts or engages with me, they're taking an action. They're receiving a win. So for example, you know, when people watch a training, they get 1 experience point. And when they check it off on our membership site, it goes ka-ching. When they complete an action, they get 2, it goes ka-ching, ka-ching. And when we have these points, we can run leaderboards every single week in the program. We can actually look to see who's falling behind and run an Operation Unengaged Student Rescue campaign. We can run jump contests. So if, you know, we want to get everyone back up to speed, we can incentivize them. For example, like if you get up to this number of points by this date, we're going to ship you a t-shirt. And we've shipped hundreds of t-shirts around the world. We can do all kinds of fun things. And I know a lot of people get worried about the technology, and we have built our own custom platform for that. But I've had people be able to do stuff like this using a Facebook group or a Google Doc or something really low tech. We at our live events do star charts, you know, for all the different wins that they're going to receive over the course of, you know, a few days with us. So there's a lot of ways to do this that don't have to be high tech, but it's really allowing people to kind of feel like they're making progress because that's what games are for. But the important thing to understand is that people don't continue to play a game if they don't know what winning looks like. That's why that mission state is so important.
What are we aiming for?
Yeah.
Right. You know, and I love that concept because, you know, whether you're competing with just yourself or with others, we want to know, okay, I've mastered this and now I get to move on to the next thing. You know, and you know, or maybe, oh my gosh, I need help. You know, and so, but we have to take those steps. And when we don't, you're right, we're just kind of muddling along. How do you know you're finished if you didn't, you know, if you don't even know how you're getting there?
Yeah.
Well, you know, what are some of the other things that you teach people? Because I know that we've got a lot of listeners and viewers who are thinking, oh my gosh, I have this idea, but I don't even know where to start. Is somebody even going to care?
Yeah. Well, for sure, making sure you validate your idea. And that's all stuff that I teach, you know, in our Experience Product Masterclass, which is how do you even come up with a good idea that's going to be profitable to begin with?
And it's not just because somebody said, you should be doing that.
Right. Or you said I should be doing that. Right. So for example, I have a 7-step profitable niche checklist. So I help people validate their ideas across 7 different criteria. So you know that there's a very good chance that this is something that people not only want, but are willing to pay for. Right.
Right. You know, and so, you know, so you've decided, okay, this is a pretty good idea. I think I could make money. Now what?
Yeah. Well, now what? Then that's where you start to develop your product and launch your product.
Okay.
So the really interesting thing about the experience formula is I also teach people how to apply it to their marketing. So
Mm.
for example, I teach about 20 different kinds of marketing campaigns,
Mhm.
and 6 of them are in
Mhm.
EPM of
Mhm.
how do you launch your product so you do the right marketing campaign at
Mhm.
the right time. So one thing that I teach is what I call the stages of business growth.
Mm.
And this kind of relates to what you said a bit earlier, that
Mhm.
before you can make money while you sleep, first you got to be able to make money while you're awake.
Mhm.
So for example, if you're just brand new and you're not sure about your idea and you're making no money or less than $2,500 a month, you're at what I call the blue sky stage of
Mhm.
business growth. And here I recommend doing one-on-one offers as well as one-on-one marketing
Mhm.
and validating and testing your concept
Mhm.
in collaboration with your potential customer. Once you sell something once, that could just be, by chance.
Right.
When you sell something twice, it could still be a fluke. Once you
Mhm.
sell something 3 times, 4 times, 5
Mm.
times,
Mhm.
it starts to become a proven business model.
Mm.
And then once you start to make consistent income, at least $2,500 a month, you move on
Mhm.
to what I call the early call me stage.
Mm.
And this is where you're primarily working with people one-on-one. You're building a
Mhm.
private practice, whether it's coaching, consulting, services,
Mhm.
creative, professional services, whatever it happens to be. And at some point you max out with that.
Mhm.
And then you go to late call me, where you start to do groups, like one to
Mhm.
few, maybe you serve 6 people at a time, or
Mhm.
12 or 20 or whatever it happens to be, through some kind of group program. And usually I call me, because you usually get customers by getting on
Mm.
the phone with them.
Mhm.
So you've got to learn sales skills and things
Right.
like that. And then ultimately, after late call me, you may still be able to fill groups through one-on-one marketing, or you start to go to one-to-few marketing,
Mhm.
such as giving talks or
Mhm.
doing webinars, for
Right.
example. And then you enter list build. And list build is the business model a lot of people are more familiar with in the
Mhm.
online space, because it's what most people teach. Now, this is where you start to have one-to-many programs
Mhm.
that you leverage through one-to-many marketing.
Mhm.
And, here you might have product lines, that are lower ticket, like $200 or
Mhm.
1,000 or 2,000. And then ultimately you reach the authority stage. This is where you have multiple marketing channels
Mhm.
and multiple product lines,
Mhm.
from very low ticket all the way to high end, right?
Right.
So you've got to kind of go through these steps one by one. And what I see so often is that I see total newbies starting at the list builder authority stage.
Right.
And they're spinning their wheels because they're trying to
Mhm.
be in like 10 different marketing channels all at once,
Mhm.
right? And that's no good. I mean, I just have one of my biggest success stories. Her name is Kat Koroy, and she joined us in the Experience Product
Mhm.
Masterclass. And she did about and she was like a single mom who'd been struggling with a physical
Mhm.
product business for about 3 years, and
Mm.
at the point of being almost completely broke.
Oh.
So in the program, she
Mhm.
discovered the right kind of product for herself, and
Mm.
it was an Instagram makeover program. And
Mhm.
she made about $12,000 right there in the program,
Wow.
right? And then right after that, she continued to make more and more money. And
Mhm.
now, about 3 years later, she's done $1.1 million in sales from that one
Mhm.
product. She has one product. She uses one marketing channel,
Mhm.
Instagram. She has one funnel,
Mhm.
and she has 0 team members. And that's all she does. She doesn't
Mhm.
even, cultivate her mailing list.
Mhm.
All she does to have made $1.1 million in
Mhm.
sales, having gone from no money
Mhm.
to that amount of money. And it's so simple. She said
Mhm.
she has her dream business. She gets to
Mhm.
spend time with her 2 kids. And she even met her husband,
Mhm.
Des, in our program.
Oh,
So
I
now
love
she's
it.
married,
Mhm.
no longer a
Mhm.
single mom.
Mhm.
But this is a way that she was able to keep this business so simple and not
Mhm.
overcomplicate things,
Mhm.
right?
Right. And I think that is probably one of the biggest challenges that small business owners talk to me about is finding that niche. And first of all, even figuring out who they're supposed to be marketing
Yeah.
to. I don't like the word target marketing. Well, I don't know if I want to target people. But, and so typically if you say, who are you, who is your potential audience? They will look at you and they will smile sweetly and they will say, everyone. No, You- you're not trying to reach everyone. Nobody. I don't think there's probably any existing company that is successful that is out there that tries to reach everybody. We were talking, I had lunch earlier today with somebody who, they had just talked to somebody who had never had coffee ever. And, and I said, and he said, well, actually I take that he had it once and didn't like it. And I said, well, maybe it was a Starbucks and it was so strong he didn't like it. Starbucks has its niche. That guy is definitely not their niche.
Well, yeah. Well, I would argue that there are companies that reach, almost everyone.
Right.
So like Google and Amazon, but Google will reach everyone who's got internet connection, which is still not everybody in the world. Amazon will reach everyone who's got internet connection and a way to pay for something online.
Right.
So still not everyone in the world, but we're talking about billion-dollar companies. And my guess is that there's no billion-dollar companies listening to this podcast right now.
Right. We wish. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
But even at that, they still recognize that there are certain people that and a lot of that is demographics, obviously. Clearly, and the older demographics might be online, but they're not going to trust to shop online. My mother, bless her, she is 87 years old. Now, she actually will shop a bit online, but what I love is she thinks Google is a woman. And she will say, go ask her. And I'm like, who am I? And she said, well, Google, go ask her. Okay, I'll go ask her. I don't know why she thinks it's a woman.
That's cute.
But yeah, so there are still those little niches, but the important thing is figuring that out and not overextending yourself, because that's where we get frustrated. I have people all the time that say, well, I don't have time to be on Facebook and LinkedIn and Google and this, and I say, okay, pick one. Pick the one that you like and go from there. And you mentioned Instagram. I'm not on Instagram. I don't even have an Instagram account. Right. Just because it's never interested me. Am I potentially missing people? Sure. But I'm okay with that because it's just not where I want to focus my time. Now, if I knew that 100% certainty that was where I needed to reach my market, then I needed to rethink. But if it's like, no, I can do without, or maybe add it later, that's fine. But don't, we've said it before, don't try and be everything to everyone. Start small. You can always increase, but you don't want to have to be forced to decrease.
Absolutely.
So, what are some other online techniques that people need to know?
Well, that's a pretty broad question.
Well, and actually I meant online training. I forgot a word in there.
You mean like you want me to continue going on talking about the experience formula?
Yeah, let's talk some more about that, because that is obviously that's your niche. And again, you're not trying to be everything to everyone. You have this, now you do have other products and services, but it's the one that for right now you're focusing on. And what really strikes me is how passionate you are about that. And how many times have we talked to a business owner and you've said, what do you do? And they go, I do this. And you're like, wow, I really want to buy from you. So it is about finding that passion. But yeah, talk to us a little bit more about your passion.
Absolutely. So why I'm so passionate about this? A, because this is how we change the world.
Right.
B, this is how so many people who have these online businesses or businesses that use the internet to get clients and serve those clients do some kind of online program or course or training program. And so many of those are not effective in getting people results. Right. When you don't have something effective in getting people results, your business will not grow and it won't succeed at the level it could potentially succeed. And that's why I'm so passionate about this, because when you can, 10 to 30x the results and the engagement with your clients, then you're going to see more sales right from the front end. You're going to see more repeat sales. You're going to see lower refunds. You're going to see more referrals and all of that.
Right.
So we've talked so far about mission. We've talked about future self-vision. We've talked about constant wins. We've talked about unstoppable momentum, right? Let me talk about one of my favorite principles. Okay. And that's the principle. And there's, like I said, 10 of these experiences, and each one of these experiences has an opposite experience. Right. Okay. So let's talk about number 10, core experience number 10, which is mission accomplished.
Ooh.
And mission accomplished is a really interesting phenomenon, because most programs just kind of peter out and there's no real clear endpoint.
Right.
But when you have that mission,
stop.
Yes. Or you stop and you don't complete them. But when you have such a clear and tangible mission, it allows you to have a really fun, clear, tangible mission accomplished celebration. Now for, our Experience Product Masterclass, I do a next steps call. And usually we do things like people wear hats and on the call. So we have hundreds of people on Zoom and they're all wearing hats. And it's super fun. And the reason they wear hats is because early on I set up that you've got to look at product creation and building your business like you're putting on your creator's hat. Basically, you're looking at the experiment lab of your business. And you're not getting too attached to any particular idea, but you're looking at what works and what doesn't work. And so people got into hats and they would wear them on different calls and take pictures of themselves in their creator hat and stuff like that throughout the course because our engagement is off the cuff in this program. And that's not just the only thing that we do. We also have these mission accomplished and graduation buttons in the membership site. So in addition to the normal bonuses people get when they sign up for our program, we have a graduation bonus, which is getting a lifetime license to use the term experience product, which I own. I trademarked that to describe their product. But they had to have graduated. And graduation looks like completing, I think, 80% of the core trainings and a few other criteria. And mission accomplished is of course like making your $2,000 back. But you have to actually push the button. And then after you push the button, some really fun stuff happens, surprises and things. It goes to submitting your story. So you basically submit your story of what happened for you in the program and the results that you got. So using this, we have, last year we had 700 people sign up for EPM. We received 700 pages of testimonials. Now that doesn't mean that every person submitted one testimonial. Some people submitted 5 to 10 page testimonials. But we instantly and automatically got over 700 pages of testimonials from one launch of the program, which is insane because most people are struggling to get testimonials from their clients, but we were able to gamify it. So we instantly and automatically got over 700 pages. And when, the mission accomplished bonus was super juicy too. So people wanted to submit their stories. Of course, not everyone who finished or, or achieved mission accomplished hit the button, but a very good percentage did,
Well, and when they have done that, they're not going to complain or whine or say it didn't work. Hopefully, if they'd had an issue before, they should have let you know. But yeah, by the time they get to that, I have finished. It's a great thing that they're putting out there.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's great. And you want people to realize they're getting the outcome. You want to celebrate it. And it also gives you an opportunity to offer a next step for people to continue the journey with you. And when you've done a really good job, when you've done what very few people have done before, which is deliver on the results that you promised, then all of a sudden, you have people who want to continue to work with you and buy from you. And the interesting thing is that in healthy businesses and successful businesses, up to 80% of revenue is made in back-end sales, which means not the first sale, but the second, the third, the fourth, whatever it happens to be. And so if you're only really helping people through one product or you're churning and burning them, so you have to constantly get new customers, you're actually working 12 times too hard because it's 1,200% harder to get a new customer than to re-engage and resell to an existing customer.
And then, of course, there's that other little thing called word of mouth. When they're happy, when they've had fun, when they've learned, when they've been successful, they're going to tell other people, and so then your marketing actually goes down because other people are doing it for you.
Absolutely. So when you start to have everyone be part of your own internal referral team, it's going to be more leveraged for you. Your business can grow without you doing any additional marketing. Yeah.
And so many people forget that. We might know, okay, well, it's better to keep them happy than to have to get new people. But we totally forget, hey, tell your friends, and all of those various things. And I don't know why, because it is kind of basic marketing is, tell if you were happy, and I love it. I saw this somewhere. If you're happy, tell your friends. If you're not happy, tell us. And so you want them to be talking about that.
Absolutely do.
Right. Well, oh my gosh, we've only got about 5 minutes left, and this has been so much fun. You've got tons of great resources on your website. I'm looking at one. I have to download it. So it is the 3-step naming formula, how to pick those names that are good. I mean, how many times have we seen products and we thought, should have thought that through more, and
Absolutely.
right. And our own stuff, we do that. We pick something, or we pick something where it makes sense to us, but it doesn't make sense to anybody else.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I have, and just if you go to our website, liveyourmessage.com, there's a basically free stuff section. And I've
Yay.
got tons of
Mm-hmm.
resources and checklists and master classes and things that are completely free that you can spend quite a lot of time in. But
Right.
I've named like hundreds of products,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got a lot of clients who are industry leaders, people like Evan Pagans and Danny Eny, Susan Pierce Thompson, Sage Levine, Mike Koenigs. They're all my clients. And so I help them brand their businesses. And I've been scouring the market for years and years and years to figure out what are the core templates for naming and to create a super sticky name, not just a sticky product and not just super sticky marketing, but a super sticky brand. So that's something that I specialize in. My company, for example, Live Your Message. When I found that name, oh my gosh, people completely changed the way they responded and reacted to me. All of a sudden, the name had a lot of power. And, many people name themselves, brand themselves. With a name like Marisa Murgatroyd, it's not the easiest name in the world. Plus, beyond that, I wanted something that went beyond me, something that meant more than just me. I didn't necessarily just always want to be the only person in the business. And we've got, 15 coaches on our team, and we've got a team of, 30 people and stuff like that. So we've got a big company, and it doesn't all have to revolve around me. So it's good to think about not just your business name, but your product names and what they say about your product and whether they turn people on right away or turn people off.
Right. Yeah, I had that discussion with somebody over the weekend where they're getting ready to launch something, and they had 5 different names. None of them struck me with any interest at all. And I felt really bad because they had agonized over these names and thought about it. And I said, I got to tell you, none of them make me want to learn more. And part of it was she had agonized over it, and so she overthought it. And it was the be everything to everyone, and it's like, no, this is, figure out what phrase, what words are going to reach the people that you want to reach. And so she thought about it a little bit. She said, okay, what about? And I went, that's it. And she said, yeah, she had spent so much time thinking about it that she just got into her own head. And once she simplified, then it came.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense.
Right. Well, Marisa, tell us a little bit more about some of the premium services that you offer.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have a branding agency, a branding and web design agency, and all that information's at Live Your Message. We also have a software company called Heroic. And Heroic is a cross between ClickFunnels and Squarespace, where you can do branded websites designed for conversion that are very reasonably priced, but allow you to create a business site, a business site that actually is designed based on your business model to get you results.
Right. I love that, and so many times we think, oh, I should do it myself. No, there are people who can do some of these things themselves, but for the most part, we need to have a little bit of outside assistance, so maybe they start with your free resources and then they go from there. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with asking for assistance. I tell people all the time, I'm not going to try and do brain surgery on myself or even change my own oil in my car. That's why I go to experts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I did want to make sure that we left people with the main resource, which is our viral product checklist. So I've been talking to you about a handful of the, core experiences and the experience formula and how to create experience escalation so you can get 10 to 30 times, the industry standard number of people across the finish line, the mission accomplished. So you have more sales and more repeat sales and more referrals and all of that. But if you go to liveyourmessage.com/Deb, DEB, then you can download our viral product checklist and get all 10 of the core experiences, as well as the 10 experiences that you want to avoid putting into your product by accident that send people down the downward death spiral. So definitely check that out, because this is really important if you're creating any kind of program, course, or product right now on today's internet.
Right. And obviously that's not giving away all of it, because we want them to work with you to really figure out how to do this secret sauce, how to really get things where it's, as we sticky, people want to finish the course. And then not only do they want to finish, they want to do the next part of it.
Absolutely. That is super duper important.
I love it. I love it. Well, as we've said, all of your information is at liveyourmessage.com. So please go there, check that out, and see that. So Marisa, do you have any final thoughts you want to leave everyone with?
Well, I love this quote by Zig Ziglar. It's that you can have everything you want in life if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. Mm-hmm. And I think that's ultimately what business is about. Mm-hmm. And if you prioritize engaging and getting results for your students, clients, and customers, your business will transform.
Right.
And all of that other stuff, like, strategy and marketing, it's important. You got to get it right. But at the end of the day, you got to make sure people are getting results.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can have the snazziest website in the world, cool, all of this. But yeah, if it's not serving that need, then there's no point in it.
Totally.
Great. Well, Marisa, this really has been fascinating, and I can't wait to chat with you again, because you've got such great information and so much great information. Again, you can be found at liveyourmessage.com. I'm Deb Creer. I've been having a wonderful time talking with Marisa Murgatroyd, and until next time, everyone have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer. Join us next time for more real-life stories and techniques to power up your business.
You've been listening to C-Suite Radio. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.